Hey all, it's and back again on just to give you a little take. I saw the movie Annie, and I gotta say, it was actually really fun. There's only one thing about the movie I did not like is too much damn singing. It it, it was bad. It was a lot like I'm literally you have about 10 minutes of story and then 15 minutes of singing. It was just like, oh, really? Again? And it was crazy. Um, the film starts off with just a standard kind of throwback Annie, someone that kind of looks like Annie, red hair. What the original Annie, because it's actually a remake of the original Annie's, talking about an orphan child who meets eventually her orphan father, which was known as, I believe, Warbox. But in this film, he's known as Stax. Now, I mean, when I heard the name Stax, I'm thinking Robert Stax, like from Unsolved Mysteries and Ultra Magnus. So, I don't know where they got that. I'm thinking maybe Stacks of Cash or Stack of Phones, because that's the whole thing. He ran his own cell phone company. And he here now, just like the plotline follows the very similar aspects of the film. Specifically, she tries to find her parents. She can't, and then these fake parents show up, and here, but it twists it around a little. So Mr. Stacks is a big cell phone company, and the fake parents take Annie away, but they actually work for someone else that recommended them. Now, the only thing about this film, which I disagreed with on that, is that the original Annie, it did have singing, but it had some unique stuff. Like when the rich guy, he had the Sikh dude that would like a crush like stuff in his hands, and and stuff would fly in the air and all that cool stuff. I guess they were trying to make it a little more realistic, but I remember that guy. That guy was actually pretty cool. Um, and Warbucks in the original one was bald. However, in this one, Jamie Foxx is actually wearing a wig, which he has on display. It's his big secret. Uh, but it's just kind of like going, okay, that wouldn't really. I mean, Jamie Foxx bald or with hair. That's like a not no brainer on that one. It doesn't really matter. What I did really like about the film is that it talked about, um, specifically, it focused on the not only the characters a little more and a little background shows like where they were and what secrets they had on the, but also it's really an all star cast because I think Gwen Paltrow is the evil orphan mother on that. And there's some dude like, oh, I love you and all that, and she's hella grossed out by them. But that's not really why I liked it. I mean, some of the stuff they went to was cool. It was like this big New York skyline. But here's the thing that bothered me about it is that you could tell this thing was backed by Russell Simmons and Jay Z completely. I mean, it's all about New York, all about this, all about that, and they fly all over. Yeah, and I remember talking to someone about the intro to Dallas and how the helicopter would go across Dallas and you look down, you have the Dallas theme song. They did the same thing on this where this is your town and I'm handing it to you and like looking at everyone down below. Same thing. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's kind of like you're up here, you're at the elite levels, whereas everyone else is not. In the beginning, though, she has a really valid point. And there's actually two great valid points in the whole film. The first one was she had to do a report and about Franklin Delano Roosevelt about the New Deal and how everybody was pissed off that they could do it. So he made a new deal to do this. So everyone here, basically, she said everybody in the front row is rich, everyone in the back row is poor. And uh, and what she pointed out, but while all the kids are stomping their hands down, it was really missed in the theaters. Everyone's stomping their hands, they're smacking the desk, they're clapping their feet while she's doing this. She said, but the front row is getting richer. And everyone's still doing this. Kind of missed that one. Which this is not surprising. This is the nature of capitalism. It's obvious that when you have investors and they want to invest into a product and that product becomes successful, they want to get paid. Perfectly acceptable. If you already had money, and you don't have money, it's easier to get ahead when you have money to begin with. If you don't have that money to begin with, it's a hell of a lot harder. Not impossible on that for some, but not realistic either. That's the thing. But another point that, they said that all your past doesn't really matter at a certain point. The only thing that matters is who you are, what cards you dealt, and busting your rear to get those cards. The one thing in the film I really disagreed with, when he's like, I got nothing, I think I busted my ass. I hate to admit this, but majority of the top CEOs that started a company and, got super rich and everything, they're backstabbers. They're professional backstabbers, majority of them. Probably about 95% of them. They backstabbed their former bosses. They backstabbed anyone they could to get to that position. And it's very lonely because a lot of people, even though they're up here, a lot of people only associate with them because they're either their boss on that or their friends. Or their friends from long ago who understands the type of person. And that friendship would never be backstabbed. But, and people say, oh, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Really? I don't? Let's take a look at the story about Steve Jobs and Apple and Windows 3.11, where basically Bill Gates ripped off the whole formula and stabbed him in the back, for the whole program, except he was going to do it on PCs. He offered to do it on PCs. He told them to do it on PCs. And Steve was like, no, we're going to build our own computer and everything. That reminds me of like VHS and Beta, where Sony owned Beta tapes. Or a better example would be Blu-ray and HD, a more current one, where Sony owned Blu-ray and they learned the lessons from Beta. They learned that lesson is they released Blu-ray technology to everybody and told them to do it and just put, who owns it and send them residuals. And everyone bid onto that. Okay, and the day the HD format ended was when I think it was Target or Walmart said they were no longer carrying HD discs. And that was the big coup de grace, so to speak. And HD was dead at that point. But people say, like, oh, well, it's not a thing. Here's the thing. Part of the people who believe they're going to come from nothing and become something, if it was so easy, why isn't more people doing it? The truth is, you're not. You think you are, but you're really not. I mean, really, look how many. I'm naming Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Russell Simmons, Def Jam, P. Diddy, Sean Combs. I can go in the industry. I probably could count maybe some people that didn't have a lot of money when they first started and developed it, probably all on one hand. So why do they sell the same story that you can go from nothing to something? Which is, in a way, it's blind luck that you get that. So it's blind luck. You throw the dice, you get the win, and then everyone's happy for you, right? And that's what this movie was selling. It's, I love you, and I'm rich, and all that. And you could be rich too, and you just got to work your... Now, the only thing, I don't remember this, but the only thing in this film is a big spoiler is Annie can't read. And that was surprising to me. Because the thing about how she said she could hide it from their school teachers, I don't think so. Especially in New York, that'd be impossible. But I'm getting off subject here. But what the thing is that when they say like, oh, you could be anything, I happen to know someone who's in New York and has been busting his ass for years. And he has been literally at the same position forever. The point is that you're either with the group or you're not. Now, you can get into the group if one of the group endorses you, thinks you would be a good candidate, but that usually requires you sacrificing a whole bunch of stuff. That includes friends, family, everything. I mean, I remember, here's an example. I remember the Kardashians. And I remember an old video of, I think it was one of their kids were running, and they were all there, and they would socialize with all the other people, because before they were famous. Then all of a sudden they got famous. Now there's this whole, I don't know, I kind of scanned, it's like, what would it take, or what would you have to do to meet one? And they said there is, like, they've got guards on them there, they're surrounded by them, it's their investment. But they're not friendly people, they're in it for themselves, they're now professional actresses on that, because they're in the family business for themselves. And that's not surprising, that's what success does. Now, if you really think about the whole coming from nothing story, let's take one of the ultimate ones, Rocky, where you had the bum. The bum, Rocky, was, Mickey always called him a bum. That was to encourage him. And then to call him up, get him angry. And there's some truth behind that, is that when you get someone angry, whether it be in sports or whether it be like in taking action, they'll do action. It may not be the best, but they'll do it to show that when you get them angry. So anyway, Rocky comes along, and I think it was the third film of Rocky when Mick was starting to die, and he told Rocky that every champion, every fighter he fought when he won the championship was subpar. Credible, but subpar to what he will want. Now, here's what Mick said, and this reminds me a lot with Hanny, is that he told him he was selected as his manager to do his job to make sure he's champion. And Mick did his job. It's when Rocky's ego got in the way, that's when everything got messed up. Granted, the situation in the movie was warranted of him getting pissed off, but in this film, that touches on the same thing, whereas you have this overzealous manager, which is doing everything to get Mr. Stacks voted mayor, and he's going to whatever lengths it takes to do it. Exactly what Mr. Stacks is paying for him, except he stepped on the wrong toe with Annie, and thus offended Mr. Stacks and all, and eventually he gets smacked in the face by this British girl, which actually she was pretty cute. I don't know, sucker for the British accent, I guess, I don't know. But, so, anyway, here's the thing, the lesson behind that is that when you become successful, and you're hungry, and you're not civilized, but when you become successful, then you have to be civilized. But when you become civilized, that is when everything starts to fall apart, because you're no longer hungry. In this instance, Andy, Stax' character, Jamie Foxx, was so hungry, he just blocked everyone out of his life. And Andy showed him it's okay to be livable and civilized again, which was a neat touch. Overall, I think the film was pretty good. They really should have cut back on the singing, but it's worth a check out. I don't know if it's worth going to the movies, but definitely DVD. Anyway, this is Dinosaur. Talk to you later.